So then they dragged it to the waterside and threw it the fuck in.
Oh, glorious.
It was. It really
glorious.
actually was, because there is a difference between history and venerating and celebrating racists.
Yes.
So, how many family members have you wanted to unfriend this week? Because I can count on at least 2 hands family members where I'm like, well, next time I have a get-together, you are not going to be on the invite list. I'm not going to tell you why.
To be fair, any friends / family that I thought were problematic have already been muted, so it's not really a problem for me. I'm already in the echo chamber.
The worst part for me is there's a family member who's constantly putting out this really, really misjudged, like, they're not putting out blatantly racist stuff. They're putting out, well, you see, it's like this and this, that and the other, and you read it and you go, oh my god, do you not realise why you're being racist?
Is it a bit of whataboutisms?
Yeah, a lot of whataboutisms. And one of their children is, and I love them to death for this, and I really do need to send them a message and just be like, well done for keeping at this, is just battering them back in the comments. Is like properly educating and fighting them. Because I think they're of an age where they're not going to learn. They're not going to change their mind.
It's sad.
But the fact that they're willing to try and change their mind is like, oh my god, that is so admirable.
I mean, we're in a suburban area with a relatively aged population, and a lot of them are just fucking ignorant and racist, so it's an occupational hazard, I suppose, if you're dealing with people day in, day out, as we are going to be doing more of over the next couple of weeks as everything starts to ill-advisedly open up, which I'm not looking forward to.
Welcome to the big damn COVID-19 is cured? ? Podcast. My name is Christopher. I stopped washing my hands years ago. Johnson.
My name is Matthew. Little Britain was never funny. Watson.
I know, right? Oh my god. Can we get into that first? Can we get into all this first?
Yes, please.
Pop culture news, everybody. Nerdy news, geeky gossip, all the stuff that's fit to fill your time until we all shuffle off this mortal coil. But holy fuck. Okay, so amidst the outpouring of genuine humanity that has been on show with the Black Lives Matter protests around the world.
Oh, the humanity.
Yeah, as a massive reaction to the murder, because murder is the correct word, of George Floyd 2 weeks ago now in the United States by a police officer, and the the complete negligence and essentially accessory to murderness behaviour of the 3 other officers who just stood by and didn't do anything. The world has been ongoing with protests in favour of Black Lives Matter and trying to make a difference in the freaking world, which is great because we're already in a month that celebrates marginalised minorities, which in this case, so it's Pride Month. So it's like, yes, oh my god, there are sane, beautiful people in the world.
Sorry.
Oh my god. Who and there's one of them now.
I was browsing
people in the
Twitter
world.
and sound came on. I'm going to turn the tablet on.
They've all come out to protest where they can. What's wonderful is a lot of the protests are people wearing face masks and they're taking social distancing as much as they can. There are people who are going to one protest, then after they've been to that, they are self-isolating for 2 weeks afterwards to make sure everybody is safe and themselves are safe. Well done. Proper protocols. Excellent work. Never stop protesting at this point. Statues of racists torn down. Yay!
Yay!
But it did so much for Bristol.
Sea.
But he did so much for Bristol. Yeah, using money that he got off of abusing and selling people's ancestors. Not a good thing.
In the sea.
Do we tear the churches down that you helped build? No, but you acknowledge that they were made with slave money. So, shut the fuck up. Anyway. But as a result, media at large is now kind of looking in on itself and going, where can we trim the fat? Where can we get rid of the hateful material? Now, instead of going straight for the jugular of actual racist output of the day, stuff that's being made now with intent to harm and offend and cause misery, things like news sources like InfoWars, things like that, twats like Keemstar, who hosts Drama Alert on YouTube, one of the biggest shows on YouTube, who famously very early in his career like screamed the N-word at people, like, you know, actual sources of active racial hatred.
Let us no longer say his name.
Yeah. Let's just call him the Gnome, and then throw him in the sea with the statue. People have instead been looking to censor stuff that has had complaints in the past. Yeah. Not a bad course of action. But it has now led into this thing where people are going, oh, he's nothing sacred anymore. Oh, I'm going to have to hold on to my Faulty Towers DVDs because Manuel is... Blah, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up. If you are white and there is a depiction of a non-white character in something, ever, it is not your place to decide whether or not that thing is offensive or harmful. It's not your place to do that. It isn't. You can observe it and understand, and certainly some things give off an immediate vibe of, oh, Jesus, that's not right. Oh, my God. But it's not up to you to decide. That being said, I think the decision made here by Netflix was an interesting one, because
Netflix
in UK
and iPlayer and BritBox.
Yeah, because the first instance in UK media that's happening last week was Lee Francis, the man behind Overplayed, and even he clearly doesn't want to do it anymore, comedy creation Keith Lemon, but more notably to like our generation, Avid Merrion and Bo Selector. That's more what we know him for, like his first breakout role on Channel 4.
Yeah.
He released a video on Instagram where he was like, I've been doing a lot of thinking this last week in relation to everything that's going on in the world, and I realised that I may have caused discomfort and upset for black individuals watching the black characters that I played on Bo Selector, and I want to say I am sorry. I'm sorry for that. At no point did anyone during that run of the show, when it was at its height, did anyone confront me on it. But I know now that that doesn't mean there wasn't an issue with it, and I'm sure there were people upset, and I'm so sorry for that. And it was like, good on you. Because for those unfamiliar, Bo Selector was a sketch show where not celebrity impressions, but weird cartoon characters that had face masks that looked like celebrities.
Try to act or sound like the people he was lampooning. It was
that was part of the fun of it. Yeah. It was just, what is this? The only one really was Michael Jackson used Michael Jackson isms and like, you know, physicality, but the rest of them were, you know, Craig David was.
I think the character's kind of
just very leads and all this, and like that was basically the character, and he was obsessed with his pet falcon for some reason.
Their is Kez. The behaviour of the characters, it feels, came like I think like the masks came first. The sort of caricature masks came first, and then he just made up characters for them, which happened like Marilyn to have Manson the same names as.
Yeah, Marilyn Manson was a posh man who liked.
Really weird.
Who liked? Oh my god, what are they called? The
manatees.
Thingies, manatees, and sculpting mashed potato, like in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah,
into
the
genitals.
Shape of a lady's tuppence.
Yeah, like wicked. Like
it was just, it was so divorced
from the actual people,
even caricatures of those people. But still,
he's real. Like, he has acknowledged that for Craig David, he would wear face makeup to match the skin tone of the mask.
Mm-hmm.
Craig David was probably the biggest breakout character from the show.
Mel B.
Trisha Goddard.
Yes.
Who is like, again, my opinion is invalid in terms of what actually is offensive here, because, you know, I'm a white man looking at this material. Off the top of my head, Trisha was the only one I could think of at first as like, oh shit, that one's actually a caricature, because he played her as like a stereotypical Jamaican mom, basically.
Yeah, like very
Jamaican. And he didn't like, you know, again, it's the whole thing of just the skin tone of the upper half of his face has been made to match the mask, but still it is a form of blackface.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, although the mask was an odd one. And like you say, Mel B, although Mel B in the past has been asked about it, and she said like she personally, in terms of the individual celebrity, she was like, she personally didn't take offense because she just thought it was fucking hilarious that it was this grotesque goblin character,
Yeah.
and for some reason it was her, and and Craig David, like, there's been different reports about what he thinks of it. A lot of people use the thing that Bo Selector ruined Craig David's career, but keep in mind Bo Selector kept going after he stopped making albums for a bit anyway, and he also was in on the joke at one point. He had Lee Francis do something with his tour. He appeared on Bo Selector as Craig Davis, the Craig David tribute act. Like, it was, it's. But that being said, these are still individuals who were like, who are black or were born black, like with a complexion and everything, and where they're from, and so he's gone. I know no one ever confronted me on it, but looking at what's been going on in the world the last few days, I can't help but think there must have been people upset by this, and if there were, I'm so sorry to all of you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here to learn, because again, he's not done these characters for 15 plus years in some instances. A few of them he's done for specials, but like, he's making a point of just saying like, it's wrong, and I'm sorry if I hurt anyone. And it was like, wow, good on you, man. Of course, you had a lot of people responding with like, you don't have to apologise for anything. It's funny. People can't take a joke. All of them white people, obviously.
It's just comedy. It's just comedy, Chris. It's just comedy, for God's sake.
Well, there's the PC brigade are going to take everything. Well, there has now been a snowball effect. Netflix, iPlayer, and BritBox, two of which are owned by BBC, have pulled Little Britain completely from their service.
And Come Fly With Me.
And Come Fly With Me. Now, I've got two different opinions on this one.
Okay.
Little Britain, sketch show about the people of Britain, was made at a time when the BBC were actually pushing for more grotesque and daring, unquote, content for its mainstream comedy. They were looking for stuff to provoke people.
Yeah.
So everyone involved in the creation of the show, like, I don't hold, like, personally, and looking at this from the point of view of someone who's worked in production, I don't hold, like, Walliams, Lucas, Bendelak, like all the people who worked on it, I don't hold them completely accountable for this being an offensive thing, because it was part of the culture of the time. They were being very much like given, oh yes, that, more of that from behind the scenes.
It doesn't excuse it, though.
It doesn't excuse it, but it's like they didn't set out to be, oh my god, let's make this because people are going to hate it. It was, oh my god, let's make this because people are going to hate it. Do you know what I mean? Like, the thing at the time was, we want to provoke everybody.
I think that just speaks to how ingrained certain racism is in British society,
Yeah. So the way to deal with it, and the way to have dealt with this years ago, considering Little Britain is one that gets brought up a lot in terms of, I can't believe this was as recent as the 2000s. The way to have dealt with it is to deal with it the way Lee Francis did, and just be like, look, we now know how much hurt this caused. We never meant that. We are so sorry for that. And just make that blanket statement and then pull it if people deem it necessary to pull it. But here's the thing with Little Britain. And I've said this on Twitter. Little Britain is not a hill I will ever die on.
No.
Like, ever. Full disclosure, I really enjoyed the first series, and I have revisited it since and enjoyed it. I've never enjoyed anything I've seen past that, which at the time of recording this, and probably forever, was Series 2. As soon as I watched Series 2, I was like, oh, this is just kind of the same, but they've added some more gross stuff in.
And I think we also have Little Britain to thank, for, like, a wave of shitty sketch shows that came after that.
Oh, yeah.
Similarly, catchphrasey. I mean, the catchphrase sketch show wasn't a new thing when Little Britain did it, but it kind of
it existed.
Sparked off another wave. Even fucking Matthew Warren and James Corden had a go at one, crying out loud.
I mean, catchphrase comedy prior to Little Britain, catchphrase comedy was called that because they were just catchphrases that recurred, but they were never the punchline. So, like, the Fast Show didn't have catchphrases that were the punchline. They were just funny lines that were used by characters, like, often, but they were never like, oh, this is the it wasn't like, you could argue, for example, Bugs Bunny is a catchphrase comedy character because you're like, yeah, what's up, Jack? Like, he has certain lines that recur, but they're never like the punchline. Whereas Little Britain, the punchline was the catchphrase, and you're like, oh god, this is so low common denominator. Again, still quite enjoy Series 1, but I think that's because I enjoy the oddness of Series 1. Series 2 is where they really start to get into fatophobia in particular. They start to really double down on stuff that is now very blatantly not intended transphobic, but is lazy transphobic comedy.
Yeah. Lazy
And then
stereotypes. I
yeah.
mean, Little Britain is essentially lazy stereotypes. The series.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is.
And that was another thing where the context is oddly key in this, is that at the time they were also they did this is like in the script books, and there's interviews about this and about at the time, because it was a 2-man show. Like, there were other cast members, but they were mostly playing the majority of the characters.
Yeah.
So they had to make the decision between either, because they wanted to represent the wealth and breadth of Britain. So they had to basically make the decision that all the characters were white, or they would play different ethnicities, so that the show would reflect Britain as a whole. They went with the second, which I think any sane person now would look at and go, yeah, maybe don't do that.
That was a poor decision.
Maybe don't fucking do that.
Yeah, it's not a decision that's aged well.
But I remember existing in 2001, 2002, when that series first came out. You remember existing in 2002. I speak for myself here, and tell me how you were feeling at the time. When I watched that initially, didn't strike me as wrong, because I'm white, I'm privileged, and I didn't have that immediate connection of anybody who was like, I don't like what they're doing there. Like, I see them taking the piss out of me.
I didn't think it was funny.
Yeah.
But...
That's fair enough. That's a given. I think we can take as a given that you didn't find any of it funny.
I didn't necessarily think it was problematic, per se.
Now, over the years, we've listened, and we have, like, met more people, and we have learned. And we've seen this and gone, yeah, that's wrong. Like, that was wrong. But you can also acknowledge that at the time, it wasn't widely, to parts of the culture, seen as wrong. Doesn't excuse it,
no.
But it puts it in a context. Which is why Little Britain's removal completely is an odd one. Because Warner Brothers have dealt with this in the past with a lot of their early Looney Tunes. A lot of their Looney Tunes from, like, the first 20 years have a lot of... And I hate using the term badly aged, because it's not badly aged, it's just we've learned and gone, oh shit, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that time has changed and left these things behind, it's that people have become more aware and gone, oh, that's bad. And put those things behind.
Yeah.
The Looney Tunes stuff, there are insensitive portrayals of people from different ethnicities and within different cultures in the earlier cartoons. There was debate when they were putting the DVD box sets together in the 2000s whether or not to even include any of those episodes. But in the end, they chose to do that, and they consulted Whoopi Goldberg. Now, Whoopi Goldberg, aside from being an actor and host of The View and, like, Broadway star, etc., and being, pretty much fucking fabulous.
And being fucking Whoopi Goldberg, yeah, come on.
She's fucking Whoopi Goldberg. She is a historian and collector of material to do with black representation in early media. Because she finds it fascinating to, like, chart the progression of how ignorant certain things were, how certain black artists allowed or encouraged certain things to get through. She thinks it's important to look at it and examine it and be like, this is wrong, this is why this is wrong. And I sort of paraphrased her in my Little Britain tweets the other day, which was, she says, you can't pretend that you were always better.
No,
you have to get better. So when Warner Brothers released his DVD collection, certain episodes came with a preface. They would open up with like a 30-second bit from Whoopi Goldberg, piece to camera. They filmed a bunch of them, where she would talk about the ethnic representation in the episode, the racial significance, the stuff that is just offensive as fuck.
Yeah,
she'd discuss it, and then she'd be like, "So presented here now, untampered, is that piece of media, like, is that cartoon?" And it's important because if imagine like our kids or our kids' looking at stuff, and if they saw nothing but completely correctly, but like completely filtered material from the past, they would always assume that was the way it was.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can learn and get better if you pretend everything's always been fine.
As long as you present it in context. If you
as
present
long
it with
as context.
Yeah, because if you present it without context, I think it can come across as endorsement.
It will always deliver that
Yeah.
original sort of it'll always be on that original level if you don't at least dress it with context. So in the case of Little Britain, because someone challenged me on Twitter, they said like, all right, like what would you because they said like you may as well get rid of all of it because I think in my tweet I said just remove the problematic elements from it, but from the widely available streamed versions.
Yeah.
Just do that. Just remove them and leave the rest up as is. And then, people who really want to see the whole thing and understand the context can buy it digitally or buy it physically. Like, there it is. It exists. Any new editions, if they ever would do that, preface it, give context, and then put it out there. And he said, well, everyone will be offended at everything now. And I said, I'm sure. And again, my opinion is not correct for everyone. Well, no, let me start that again. My point of view is not the correct one in addressing some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that point of view for certain things. But I said there are absolutely things in there that I know weren't made and don't come across as being hateful or marginalising. And they were like, right, what stuff would you keep in? And I went, right, okay, so and yeah, I'm gonna watch your face now to see if you recognise any of these from Little Britain. But I was like, Dennis Waterman. Like, David Williams plays a tiny version of the actor Dennis Waterman who's trying to get a job and he keeps losing jobs because he's sort of takes creative control, writes the theme tune, sings the theme tune.
Oh, that's actually not a terrible sketch.
Exactly. There's a pitch guy who's in the first series called Matthew Waterhouse. Funnily enough. Yes, named after him.
Yeah.
Played by David Williams, who just shows up in pitch meetings and pitches fucking awful products. It's just a series of prop gags. There's a Scottish hotelier who's just a weird hotelier.
The guy.
Yeah, if you'd asked me on a Monday, I'd say yes. Like, whatever that is. As is. There's a couple of others. Kenny Craig, the hypnotist. Like, the joke is he's a sleazy individual. Like, it's not saying, this is funny, you should harass people. Like, it's, no, he's a bad person. Like, that's the joke. And I said, controversially, I wouldn't take out Andy and Lou. Andy and Lou is the man in the wheelchair and his carer. I said I wouldn't take that out because the joke is about benefit cheats. It's not about disabled people. The joke is there is a man pretending to be disabled to take advantage of the system.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that's a insensitive joke as much as it's just a bad joke. Right?
Here's the thing. It on the surface it seems ableist. You watch a couple of the sketches, and you go, no, it's about benefit fraud. It's an easy, boring, stupid joke. Yeah, but it's like that's what it's about. Conversely, there's another sketch in Little Britain about an individual called Anne, played by David Williams, who's in like a care facility.
Yeah.
That's the exact same joke because she does inappropriate stuff. She rubs a hand on people's faces and makes a stupid noise and messes things up, and it's painful to watch. And then the joke is like a phone rings or whatever, and she answers. She's like, "Yep, no, I'll be around later. Okay, bye." And then puts the phone down, and the only person who kind of sees it is this character. Played by, oh God, I've forgotten his surname at the moment, and I bloody love him. Steve Thingy. It'll come to me. Steve First. He's the only one who kind of seems to see it, and then they move on. And it's like, right, so it's the Andy and Lou joke, but is actually taking the mickey out of mentally handicapped individuals who might not have communication skills. Okay, and she doesn't seem to be getting a benefit from it. She just does it. And it's like, that's just weird. That's odd. I would absolutely take out Emily Howard, who is the "But I'm a Lady" character, because it's just shit transphobic humour. Marjorie Dawes, I don't hate the idea of because the hypocrisy of it. She's the fat fighter's character. The hypocrisy of it is the joke, but the over mocking of the one Asian member of the group is horrible. Like, it's just flat out. The recurring element of like she doesn't understand what she's saying, and it's like, oh, for God's sake. No, again, the joke is Marjorie's ignorance, but it's still like, it's the only character, the only Asian character with that thick an accent in your show, and that's the joke.
I've seen ignorant old cunts have that interaction with Asian retail staff, and it's fucking awful when you see it. So
also, the Fat Fighter sketches are shit versions of the Job Seeker sketches from League of Gentlemen. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But so there's that. Daffyd, the only gay in the village, the whole Clan Dewey Breffy thing, the stuff with Ruth Jones. I was not a gay man in my 20s or 30s in the gay scene in 2003. I don't know how accurate or affectionate or nasty that parody is.
Yeah.
I'm also not Matt Lucas, who is a very out gay man who wrote those sketches.
Yeah.
So I can't judge that. Sure, whatever, leave that as is. Similarly, Sebastian, the Prime Minister's aide, played by David Walliams, opposite Anthony Head. Like, the joke is that his aide fancies him and the Prime Minister hasn't noticed, but it's also David Walliams doing his faux homosexual act, which in itself has always been kind of like, is that all you do? You sort of do the play-up camp / 70s version of a homosexual person. That's your whole thing, is it?
David Williams wanted to be in Are You Being Served? I think that's all they wanted from
He just wanted to be Mr. Humphreys. He wanted to live in that bubble of camp where people could be overtly camp and very openly homosexual in media, but everybody laughed because they pretended that, oh, he's acting like one of those gays. And it's like, oh, for God's sake. Like, Williams wants to exist in that bubble. And now COVID is cured, he can pick that as his bubble if he chooses. Anyway, Jesus. So what I'm saying is there's material in Little Britain, and I doubt any of it was made to cause offence. It was just made to ruffle feathers. But there is material that could easily be left if they wanted to do that in mainstream streaming services. And there is material that should be taken out. Overall, not my place to decide. But also, if you cut out all the shit material, that means the streamable versions would be about 5 minutes long. And if anything, that's a bonus.
Oh, yeah. And you can just cut all of season 2.
Yeah, and 3, and 4, because that's the heinous. Season 3 is the one where David Walliams plays a large black woman in several sketches, and you're like,
it's not just blackface; it's an entire black fat suit.
Yeah,
and people have been responding to
why?
his like Black Lives Matter support posts and stuff, and his posts on
with
Twitter,
a photo of that character,
with that picture, and also the picture of the schoolgirls from Come Fly With Me.
But that's the other one. So Come Fly With Me was pulled from the service as well. Come Fly With Me was like the spiritual follow-up to Little Britain. It had one series in 2010.
Hang my head in shame and say that when Come Fly With Me went out, I was in the same position as you were with Little Britain. Whereas I didn't see the problem with it. And I actually thought some of it was pretty funny. But looking back on it, I just feel like a big fucking doofus forever laughing at any of that shit. Because when you see it, you're like,
oh, yeah.
Whoa, again, what the fuck is going on here?
A lot of the comedy around the characters, like one, for example, there's a whole thing where it is mocking racial ignorance, racist ignorance is some of the material.
Yeah.
There's the border security guy who basically keeps interviewing non-white people and interrogating them pre-flight. And that is mocking the knee-jerk racist reactions within airport security that we've seen over the years.
Yeah.
Like, friends of mine have been, some of my friends, no, seriously, like, friends of mine who are not white have been detained and questioned for sometimes hours on end and have their time wasted for no reason that they can discern other than the fact they're not white. Like, it has happened. So to take the piss out of that is, fine. But those are the only sketches where they actually hire performers of the character's ethnicity.
Yeah, and
the rest of the time they're played by Walliams and Lucas.
And some real rough stuff. Like there's 2 Japanese schoolgirls. There's 2 that Matt Lucas does. One where he's old.
One blackface and one brownface. Yeah.
One where he's an older lady of presumably Caribbean descent who runs the coffee shop there. And the other one where he's a British Asian. I think he's a luggage handler.
Yeah, baggage handler.
And it's just, you look at it and you go, "Wow, who thought this was okay?" And it's also the tacit endorsement of that by Lucas and Williams, and I thought that I haven't seen them apologise for it or address it.
The way they've both referred to it over the years is, we wouldn't do that now, or you wouldn't be able to do that now. Neither said with a reluctant air of like, oh god, yeah, they've ruined it for like. None of it said like that, but never an out apology.
No.
And again, just a simple short video like Lee Francis did of shit we did was wrong. No one told us it was wrong at the time. That doesn't mean it wasn't wrong. We're so sorry if it upset anybody.
And I think it's
and we're learning. We are all still learning, and we hope you'll permit us to permit us that leeway so that we can learn from all of this and move on. But it's like,
I think it's also part of their ongoing sort of public personas on social media and such, in that Matt Lucas seems to refuse to engage with anything with any level of seriousness, and he's just playing his buffoon character, his silly man character constantly. And David Walliams refuses to do anything but promote his budget roll dial bullshit. Lucas
uses his platform for good. Social media platforms for goods nowadays,
but he does engage with things in a very light, sort of fun. Which I get why he does that, because he doesn't want to. Yeah. He wants to inject positivity into it, and that's it's a good thing. But he doesn't seem to really. He's in engage. A bubble. Yeah, he doesn't seem to engage with things with any level of gravity or gravitas.
He's very block happy. People can engage him in conversation where they're not having a go at him. They're just critiquing or inquiring, and he's been known to just block them. And it's like, oh, okay, that's a little worrying. But
if you want to,
you're doing it at the slightest thing. But yeah, if you want to
sing "Thank You, Baked Potato" for the 7 millionth time, then he's got all the time. But that's kind of all he does. He's just like, this is the funny thing I'm doing now that's spreading positivity, which it's not bad, but
just all it takes is 5 minutes to acknowledge the big bloody elephant in the room, shit, and then move on. Because the reason it sticks so much for these two is that they built their careers off of that show. They both had done stuff prior to that, but that was the show that made them. So the fact that they've not acknowledged it in a meaningful way is really upsetting. And also the fact that David Walliams, as recently as 2 years ago, went as a Korean dictator, complete with prosthetic facial makeup, to a Halloween do. Yeah. It's like, it's just, there's a tonal dissonance that is just so uncomfortable.
I have a sneaking suspicion that David Walliams is a real piece of shit. This is all. Me too. This is all just
the vibes you're getting off. None of this is based off things we've heard. Yeah, I've only ever worked with one person who's worked with him. So I know someone who interviewed him, and apparently in the interview, perfectly lovely, really amicable, la la la. But it was one of those, like, they had 5 minutes, and he came. They set up the shot. They shot their piece. They had a bit of small talk. They did the shoot. He said goodbye, la la la. But I know what you mean. There are vibes given off.
I just get the feeling, that he's a.
Yeah. Other shows, other films that.
Things. So, Gone with the Wind's been taken off HBO Max.
Yes,
because it's all about rich white slave owners.
Yeah, but HBO Max have released a statement saying that they don't intend to keep it off of there for good. They feel that now is the right time to not give stories like that a platform.
Yeah.
And they plan to return it with amended content. So either certain edits made, but either way, a like we said, a contextual addition at the beginning.
I think
to kind of like say, this is what this is. This is when it's from. Viewer discretion is advised.
I think it's important that it not be edited, it be contextualized. Because I think if you're editing it, you get into that thing that we were talking about earlier, where you're curating your own history and be like, no, we didn't do that. We didn't do that. Yeah, but then being able to go back and see, they made this in this time, and people were portrayed like this, and fuck, that sucks. That fucking sucks. Let's not do that again.
Like you can't pretend everything was always better, and that's.
It's like what Disney do with Song of the South. Like they just pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah, they shouldn't do that
and never talk about it.
And yet their most popular ride at all of their parks is a ride based on that film, and I find that so bizarre. Which was Splash Mountain, commissioned in the late 80s. So years after they'd already gone and buried Song of the South.
It's like own your mistakes, apologise for them, and do better. Don't put Song of the South on Disney Plus,
but make it digitally available if someone wants to purchase it and present it with context.
I think you could put Song of the South on Disney Plus, but again, you have to have that preface to it. and
yeah.
be like, we don't.
It has to be unskippable as well. It has
Yeah.
to be unskippable.
Make
it has
that
to be a
bit
thing that is
unskippable.
there. Yeah.
Put it don't just put a thing at the beginning of the thing, but also put it at the top of the like synopsis on the content browser.
Into the caption.
Yeah.
And that's where our next one comes in that struck this one struck me as a bit like, this one's more easily navigatable, but sure. As of today, recording this, League of Gentlemen has been pulled from Netflix.
Yeah.
BBC series The League of Gentlemen. No official reasoning has been given, but a source close to Netflix says it is due to the portrayal of a character in blackface. The League of Gentlemen's a sketch show with sitcom elements. It's a dark comedy. It's a massive proponent of what shaped my taste as I grew up in terms of comedy. It's grotesque. It's terrifying. It's a little bit weird. It's very silly in places, and in some places there's a lot of pathos. It's great. It's like the polar opposite of Little Britain in every way.
Yeah.
Right to the point where one of Little Britain's recurring characters is essentially a rip-off of one of League of Gentlemen's recurring characters. And if you watch a single Job Seekers sketch with Pauline and then watch a Marjorie Dawes Fat Fighter sketch, you'll be like, the fuck is this Marjorie Dawes shit?
Yep.
Give me that Pauline shit.
Give me that good Pauline shit.
League of Gentlemen has got a couple of odd instances in there of, and this is the one where I'm surprised because they said that it's to do with the character in blackface. There is a character in there called Pop, who is Persian, I think.
Yeah, and his sons.
And his sons, which involves there's face makeup to portray all three of the characters.
Whereas he's an Asian immigrant and his son's a British-born Asian.
Now, none of them, bar Steve, who's playing this caricature of the scary foreign mob-like businessman.
Yeah.
Neither Mark or Reese's characters are portrayed in an ethnic mimicry, but still face paint.
Yeah.
There is a Chinese character played by Steve in one episode of Series 3, which is, that has not done well.
No.
And I think Steve Pemberton has spoken of that in an interview before and said, like, he says that was blind. He says, like, I wouldn't dare do anything like that today because it's just not on, is it? Like, and it's like, good, thank you, Steve, well done. Thank you for acknowledging that.
I don't think Babs has aged well.
Babs hasn't aged well.
I don't think it's done mean-spiritedly.
But that's the thing, Babs is never done from a mean-spirited POV, but also we aren't transgender individuals who've gone through any form of operation, like, in that way we can't say whether or not, but you can't, it doesn't taste of mean-spiritedness.
No, it feels misjudged.
Yeah, neither does Pop. Pop doesn't taste of mean-spiritedness. Like, it's a character, and it was the sketch show tradition of they're going to play everybody in it.
Yeah.
But it's still like, okay, that one, The main reason it's apparently been taken out is the character Papa Lazarou. Now, Papa Lazarou was a breakout character for the show, because it was one everyone quoted. He's the travelling circus owner, who's also a kidnapper, a murderer, a serial wife stealer, a necromancer, a master of disguise, and Father Christmas impersonator. Like, he's this otherworldly being.
In the recent revival was one of the funniest moments the show has ever done.
Yeah, it was like, holy shit, this entire subplot exists for that punchline.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it works. Yeah. But Papa Lazarou is he's portrayed with a really vague, gravelly, part Romanian accent, but it's non-specific.
Yeah, it's sort of a play on Romany gypsies, but it's also implied to be someone playing at doing that.
Yes,
like
because we
universe.
See. Yeah. Well, and then they expunge on that weird because the main reason he's the reason they've taken it down for now is because he sports minstrel face paint.
Yeah.
So a form of blackface makeup. Not a type of makeup to make him look like a different ethnicity, but a blackface, white eyes, white mouth, the minstrel, the clown look that came about in mimicry of black individuals in the vaudeville days, in the days of minstrel comedy. So stuff that, like, again, do yourselves a favour, guys, look up Al Jolson. Phenomenal performer, and by all accounts, apparently a wonderful person. A lot of his career was performed in that minstrel makeup, which is why you probably went, who? When I said Al Jolson. Because no one is showing that shit ever again. It's the origins of a lot of, like, wholesome comedy, but it just happens to be done through that face. And it's like, oh, that is wrong. That is abso-fucking-lutely wrong. Again, presented with context, go back and watch that sort of stuff as is. But Papa Lazaru's got that face makeup because he seems to think that's what the entertainer looks like. It seems to be part of his look to lure people in.
Yeah.
And it's trying to tell you there that he's outdated. You can see his skin around the minstrel face paint is clearly white. His complexion is white. It's Caucasian. So it's like, that's horribly insensitive. And it's like, yeah, that's the idea, is that he doesn't realise this is wrong. You shouldn't be rocking up like this. Like, this is bizarre. Now, no one comments on it in show because Vasey is also a town of exaggerated grotesques.
Yeah.
Like, it's the whole show, bar about 4 characters, is full of, like, Toby Jugs brought to life. Like, they're all grotesque individuals of cartoonish proportion. So no one bats an eyelid. I think maybe the reason they've gone ahead with this for sure, and not in a knee-jerk kind of, he has a minstrel face, we're taking this away kind of way, is because it's solidified in Series 3. Spoiler alert for a 18-year-old season of comedy. And seriously, if you ever want to watch The League of Gentlemen unspoiled, skip the next 2 minutes, because Series 3 is something you should watch as is.
Yeah.
Don't let me ruin it for you. You don't mind spoilers for Series 3? You've seen Series 3,
I don't think I
haven't
saw
you?
all of Series 3.
Okay, so Series 3 is the first one where it isn't a sketch show. It's each episode focuses on one character, and then there's a B plot as well. So you get a bit of sketch element because you cut to another thing every now and again. But Series 3 focuses on one character each episode, and then this event happens at the end. All of them happening at the same time. So each episode, you see you see how that character ties into the event, and the next, like, 20 seconds of that event. So it's this unfolding kind of reveal. Like the very first episode is about Pauline, and at the end of it, she is about to get hit by this van that's careening out of control. In the second episode, it's about Lance, the joke shop owner, who gets an arm transplant for his missing arm. And toward the end of the story, he's nearby, and the arm, which has had a mind of its own throughout the story, and you learn the reasons why, and it's full-on hammer horror, it's great, sees that Pauline about to get hit by the van, and Lance, the most selfish man in Vasey, like, him and his arm make the decision, and they reach out and they push her out the way, and he gets hit by the van. The camera pans back to reveal the van, and you see the Legs Akimbo Theatre Company logo on it, and you're like, what? The next episode is about Jeff Tips going to London and trying to become a stand-up. It's the only episode set outside of Vasey for the entirety of it.
Yeah.
And the B plot is Legs Akimbo doing site-specific theatre stuff in London. And Jeff, when he runs back to Vasey, steals their van. After the crash, you see where he's crashed, you see that somebody's dead. So, like, each episode reveals, like, another thing as they all converge on the same point. Spoilers for Series 3, Episode 6. So, in Series 3, Episode 6, there's an individual called Keith Drop, who I won't explain the entirety of the plot, but he's this theatrical gentleman, Caucasian guy played by Reece Shearsmith. He basically looks like Elton John, like he's wearing lipstick as well, and he's, big wide brimmed hat with a feather in it, and he's, this, that, and the other, and he's working in the charity shop because he's flogging old theatrical costumes, and he talks like this, very softly spoken, and all this. And Brian, one of the characters played by Mark Gatiss from the Jeff sketches of the first 2 series, has been looking for his wife Katie since Series 2. And when he goes into the charity shop earlier in this episode, he notices something, and he comes back in, and he's talking about how she went missing, and he's like, she went missing around the same time a bunch of other women went missing. And he's like, but that brooch that you showed me the other day, it looks exactly like her. And then Keith starts to throttle Brian from behind with, like, his tie. And as they're fighting and they're tussling, and Brian reaches up and scratches Keith's face, and underneath Keith's skin is the black and white face of Papa Lazarou. And then what happens after that is you find out that Lazarou has been around for a while and has been doing the wife-stealing thing that he does.
Okay.
And then there's this wonderful scene where like Brian and Renee, Steve Pemberton's charity shop old woman character, then tied up in this suburban house, this bedroom, Keith's house. You see pictures of the real Keith on the walls, and he's like a Biggins-esque, like old school lovey, and this, that, and the other. And it's like this guy is clearly not Keith. Like it's a disguise, and he's living in his house. And Papa Lazarou's like giving this discussion to him. It's a really eerie scene. It's great. It's one that I've quoted so many bleeding times. But while he's talking to them, he's applying skin-coloured makeup over his minstrel face. The implication being the minstrel pattern is his face. So that's where the swinging roundabout comes in.
Yeah.
Because one, that is a very old school demonic deity kind of thing. The idea of the face of the demon, of the creature, just like it is unshakable. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And his chosen face is something that is offensive and horrible. But it's also the thing of, oh, so you're saying this character looks like that, so he's permanently got a minstrel face. That's okay. And it's I can see why people might be upset with that. Again, it's not done clearly when you watch it from a place of malice at all. But you can see why people would be uncomfortable with that going forward, absolutely. And again, I'm a white guy. There'll be things I will definitely not have seen, and there'll be things I'm probably assuming and I'm wrong. And if that's the case, please do let me know. Wherever you're listening to this, let me know in the comments. Like, you know, I want to learn. If I'm wrong about this, let me know. Tell me. Let's talk. So I kind of think maybe that's the moment. But similarly, he's also, though the breakout character of that original run, he's only in 3 of the 19 episodes. So you could just take those 3 episodes off of streaming. The fact no one's mentioned, you know, Pop and his sons, or the Chinese character in the series 2 episode, like, that's odd to me. Like, you know, they're clearly the ones where it's like, well, that's aged.
But also, it's one of those, though, it's been enforced by people who haven't actually watched it.
Yeah.
But
it's an odd one, and it's the thing is, we're going to see now a temporary reaction to all of these things. We'll have to wait and see what the proper considered reaction is going forward. So like I said, if you're going to put them on a mainstream streaming service, offer context. Like, you know, make it so that they are behind that wall of, you have to read this thing. Do you get it? Do you understand? Okay, here we go. Or maybe do take them off of the big streaming platforms, but make sure that they're still digitally available for purchase and provide context. It's going to be interesting going forward to see. And I think the reason why it has kind of got everyone overthinking it or defending things, knee-jerk reaction, defending shows and this, that and the other, is because it feels like the actual horrible, done with intentional malice shit is being left. And that stuff's obviously not like on these platforms. But, you know, like, word is that they're about to take Jackie Brown and Django Unchained off of Netflix.
Which I don't quite understand.
Both are historical, cultural context. They both have a historical and cultural context within the film itself. I've already seen someone saying that they're being removed because of their elaborate use of the N-word. But again, context. Like, this isn't. These aren't racist films. They're films about, in one case, systemic racism. In another, a massively racist part of America's history. And that one's also a revenge fantasy, so the racists get brutally hurt. Like, you know, just...
It's very, very cathartic.
It's cathartic. Yeah, it's, and again, someone else tried to argue to me and they said, what do you think about the producers and Blazing Saddles? Do you think they should be taken away? To which I said, well, no, because Blazing Saddles is a movie about how racists are ignorant pieces of shit.
Yeah,
like that's what it's about. It was controversial at the time because it was like, oh my god, this is really on the nose and uses the N-word for comedic effect. But it's a film about how racists are ignorant pieces of shit. And as for the producers, I was like, why are they suggesting that? Are they just listing Mel Brooks films? And then I realised it's because you've got the whole Springtime for Hitler musical thing. Context of the movie, guys. The musical is meant to be the worst musical they can greenlight, and the one actual Nazi character in the film is depicted as a psychotic moron. These films are not holding racists up on a pedestal. That's not what they're doing.
Yeah, it's
bizarre. Like I said, I think what we're seeing now is an immediate reaction, and it's going to take a few weeks before we see what actual steps will be taken going forward in regards to access to material that could be harmful. But I again, as a white person, I don't know what's best exactly. I honestly don't. I just hope that they are actually consulting a wide breadth of people from different backgrounds and lives when they make these decisions. And also, it would be nice to see some of the actual horrible racist individuals get their platforms removed if we are going to go down this route.
Yeah.
Like, you remove Little Britain from Netflix, but Trump still has a Twitter account.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, inciting raceful hatred. Like, so... come on, like, context is key, but it can't be one rule for all, guys. It can't be a different rule for everyone. It's got to be one rule for all if you're going to do it that way.
The whole thing's just a fucking mess, isn't it? We've done some bad shit as a people. Let's just burn it all down and start again.
Yes. Starting with Facebook.
Oh, man. We talked about that a lot longer than I intended to.
Sorry. I'm passionate. I can't help it.
I don't even know what I was talking about.
I want the world to be a better place.
I want the world to be a better place.
Hey, do you know what came out? Do you know what came out tonight / last night based on the early birds listening to this?
What?
The PlayStation 5 announcement.
Yeah, we can't talk about it though because it's not.
We can't. But let's predict. I can't believe it's got 7 USB ports.
I can't believe it's not butter.
I can't believe one of the launch titles is Bubsy 4.
I can't believe it's backward compatible with GameCube games.
I can't believe that they all come pre-installed with the complete season of Come Fly With Me. They might have to walk that one back.
Fuck me. There was a small drop of joy this week.
Where?
A small drop of happiness and joy. The trailer dropped for Bill and Ted Face the Music.
on did you notice the date as well?
No, I didn't notice the date because I watched it today.
It dropped yesterday as of this recording on the 9th of June, which to us is the 9th of the 6th, but in America it's June the 6th, June the 9th, 6/9. 69 dudes.
Nice.
Which was a nice little nod. This looks really fun.
It does.
It looks really stupid, and I'm all here for it.
It just looks silly, and like a bunch of people got together and had fun and made a good thing. Actually, I don't know if it's going to be good, but I think it's going to be fun. So I
hope it's going to be fun. I mean, they're definitely going for the nostalgia.
Well, yeah, because Death's back.
Death is back. And it's about time, but also the Orion Pictures logo at the top end and everything.
I saw that. I was like, hang on, is this an ad? No, this is the trailer.
No, it's real. I mean, it's got Samara Weaving in it, so I'm there. She's awesome. And it's hilarious. Lucy watched it before me. She's the Bill and Ted fan in the house. Like I grew up going like, oh, it's just like shit Wayne's World. And I got older and went, there are a lot of comedies that were based on that era and those kinds of people. Shut up, Johnson. And I reassessed it. And you know they're fun. They're really fun, dumb films. They're my other favourite time travelling idiots who use a phone box to get around. But Lucy said, have you seen it yet? And I went, no, I'm just about to watch it. And she went, yeah. She says, Keanu doesn't look real.
It doesn't look real.
Keanu looks like someone's tried to digitally recreate him. And I said, why? And she went, it's just without a beard. It's just really...
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we've gotten so used to him with like that length of hair and a beard now.
Yeah, I don't think I've
it's
seen
odd
him.
to see him.
I don't think I've seen him without a
non-wicked.
beard since the Matrix Revolutions.
That picture of him on the subway from the
maybe.
mid-2000s. I don't know. But we're used to him with that length of hair and a beard. But I kind of like that. I like the fact that he looks uncomfortable in it, because the implication being from what we know, like the basic plot I think is great. Like in the original two movies, they learn that they're going to write the song to save the universe, and now here we are like 20 years later and it's not happened.
They've still not done it.
Like that, yeah, they've not written the song, and like the occasion is getting way nearer now that they're like, because they were never told when it's going to be, and they've been trying to figure it out and it's not worked. And and
Wild Stallions is not really a big band anymore.
No,
it's a tiny little band.
Alex Winters and his t-shirt and his flannel shirt and everything, like clearly holding on to his youth.
He's not changed at all.
Yeah, and whereas Keanu's kind of like looking like he's dressing a little more sensibly, like shirts and neat jeans and clean shoes and all this.
Yeah.
You're like, this is like, I wonder how this is gonna go, but I'm all for it.
I'm so curious. But I've just got a big smile on my face thinking about it, and also the reveal shot at the end of the trailer of
them in the future,
super buff future prison Bill and Ted, which is fucking great.
But again, just the idea why they're meeting their future selves. Like, we've not written it yet, so let's go steal it from us in the future. It's like, is it steal? But isn't that just stealing? It's like, none of it's. If we wrote the song to begin with,
not.
they're like, oh yeah. It's not stealing if it's from ourselves.
Yeah, it's not stealing if we're stealing from ourselves.
Yeah,
it's just, it's fabulous. It's fabulous.
Makes me happy. Makes me damn happy.
I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna make me happy. What else?
Hey, do you know what
happened?
else came out on the 11th?
What?
I.e., the night this first goes out, or the day after on YouTube.
What?
What we do in the Shadows starts.
Oh fuck yeah!
Let's pretend we've watched it. My favorite bit was the reveal of the 7 USB ports.
I can't believe it's not Bloodter.
I can't believe that there was an issue with the recording, so they just cancelled it and re-screened "Come Fly With Me." I think the timing was very poor.
I can't believe they defunded the police.
Oh God, I wish. I bloody well wish.
They cancelled cops though, so
They
that's
did.
a plus.
They did cancel cops.
Ugh.
But on the plus side, sorry, I just kissed my wife. Does that offend you?
Yes, it offends me. Don't tell J.K. Rowling. She'll say it's misogynistic.
Well, should we touch on that?
No, no. We talked for too long about the. Suffice to
Do you know
say,
let's round it up quite simply. Fuck J.K. Rowling.
Yeah,
there we
she
go.
published a massive fucking open letter as a response to her criticizing, being criticized for seeing only women menstruate and shit like that, and just generally being a trans exclusion radical feminist or TERF. And just did this massive open letter, which basically boils down to, but if anyone can say they're a woman, then men in bathrooms will assault girls, which is bullshit, and hiding behind her experiences as an abuse survivor. That basically she, by holding trans exclusionary views, she is defending women who are biologically female from predators who are biologically male but pretending to be female. And
I have a news alert for you people who fear trans individuals in public bathrooms.
I don't get it.
A, they're in a different cubicle. Doesn't matter if they're shitting, you're also shitting. Leave them the fuck alone. B, if anyone was going to sneak into a bathroom to do something horrible to a human being, they just do it.
Yeah,
You are in danger every time you use a public restroom, because that's what being a human being is on this planet. Doesn't make it fun, but it also doesn't mean that if you make it uncomfortable for trans people to find somewhere when they need to take a shit, that your little world is going to be safe.
And she's going on about things like...
Make it illegal for trans women to go into public female bathrooms. All right. You're going to get rid of guns, America? No? Because someone could come into the bathroom with a gun and you're fine with that for some reason. Jog on. Trans men are men. Trans women are women. Fuck J.K. Rowling.
It's a lot of stuff about people like, oh, she doesn't want lesbians to be shamed because they're not willing to have sex with trans women who still have penises. And she's not... And she's worried about rapid onset gender dysphoria in young children. I'm just like, you're talking shit, JK. You're just making shit up. Oh, no, you're not making shit up, but you are buying into stuff that other transphobes have concocted or misreported or misinterpreted, and jumped. And she's just doubling down, and not once is there an apology in there. And not once does she address the two major problems people had with their original statements, which were, one, the assertion that only women menstruate and menstruation is what makes women women.
Yeah.
Because, again, not all people who are physically capable of menstruating do menstruate. So it's using it as a signifier of womanhood is already a flawed approach. And two, she didn't address the fact that she decided to drop this nuclear bad hot take in the middle of the Black Lives Matter protests.
And the first week of Pride Month.
Yeah, and the first week of Pride Month.
The month celebrating sexual and gender diversity.
Also randomly drops the insinuation that autistic people can't know whether they're trans or not.
Oh, she did not. I didn't even catch that. I think I just zoned out after line 12.
She's a moment in there where she sort of casually mentions how rates of gender dysphoria are higher among autistic individuals, and the implication being that people who are autistic can't accurately gauge their own gender identity, which is woof.
So basically, she's transphobic, ableist, and a fake feminist.
Yeah. She's hiding her transphobia behind the shield of feminism, which is what trans exclusionary radical feminists do. And she just paints herself as the victim, and how she's being bullied by trans activists.
Oh, she's being bullied by trans activists.
She's being bullied by trans activists.
The incredibly rich, very privileged, very powerful white woman is being bullied by activists for a movement that is under fire by horribly misinformed, powerful white billionaire Twitterers like herself, who write stuff off the cuff, having no fucking idea how much harm it's going to do. It's nice to know that the Harry Potter legacy isn't completely tarnished, as over on the Trevor Project, which is an organisation that does amazing work for LGBTQ plus organisations and communities around the world, Daniel Radcliffe responded to J.K. Rowling's tweets via the Trevor Project. We stand a short king.
We do.
Because not only has he been a supporter of the Trevor Project for a decade, he very openly says in it that he as an individual is also still learning.
Yep.
And he knows he will have made mistakes, and he knows he's going to make mistakes, but it's about open conversation. He doubles down on the idea of, this isn't a feud between me and J.K. Rowling, but that's how some news places are going to spin it. Mm-hmm. It's not what this is. I just want to point out that I think what she said is wrong and harmful. And he goes on to say, you guys, you, the fans, you own Harry Potter. It's yours. Like, it's not Joe's.
Yeah.
Like, she created it. it's your playground.
She
it's
can,
your world to live in.
Your relationship with that book is sacred, essentially, is what he says.
But also, the fact that he released that statement through the Trevor Project means, of course, the Trevor Project's website has had like a 400% increase in traffic this week. And their ad revenue goes to running the organisation's websites and media, but also, of course, toward paying the people who run the organisation, who normally do a lot of this stuff like voluntarily. So it's taking care of the community and the people that run these safe environments and charity drives for the community. He didn't just put the statement out there. He went, I'm going to give it to you guys to publish. So they could benefit. What a good fucking egg. What a good egg. Eddie Redmayne, as of today, also came out against Joe Rolling's statements.
Eddie Red maybe.
Eddie Red maybe, who of course is in the interesting position that he's still working with J.K. Rowling. Like he's in the upcoming at least 2 more Fantastic Beasts movies.
Yeah.
And he of course courted some controversy within the transgender community a few years ago, not for himself but for a choice of his, in being in the film The Danish Girl.
Yes.
Where the complaint at the time was, why weren't trans actors seen for this role?
Yeah.
And it was the age-old studio bullshit of like, well, it wouldn't sell unless it was a star. It's like, well, you make a star, you fucking idiots. You make a star. But he said at the time, like, I'm sorry if I've upset anybody, by being in this. He said, like, I did it because it's a story I thought was important to tell. And it's like, okay, so he went in it genuinely with a good heart, and after the fact has gone, oh shit, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have taken the job, or I should have helped campaign. And we've seen actors catch themselves before making that choice in recent years since then, like Ed Skeen, most famously for Hellboy 2019, when he found out the character he'd been cast as was a Chinese character in the comics. Yeah. He went, oh, right, and then immediately quit the role. He went, I'm not doing it then. He said, I'm not doing it.
He also dodged a fucking bullet there as well.
Yeah, it's a terrible fucking movie. But it's like, it's the whole thing of he caught himself. It was like, fuck, he listened to people online and went, fuck, really? Yeah, no, I'm out then. I'm out. And it's like, good on you, man. Like, and he's not a huge star. Like, he probably, could not afford to just chuck away roles like that.
I would have thought not. Like, he works regularly and he's been in some big projects, but
yeah, he's not the kind of guy who's walking into a casting room and going like, I want that role and that role and that role, and they go, yes, Mr. Skeens. Like, he's somebody who's still working his way up to a consistently high-paying career. So it was probably no mean feat to turn around and say, yeah, you can keep your 50 grand, you can keep your 100 grand, like whatever it was for that role, because it was quite a small budget film, wasn't it? Hellboy 2019.
Relatively speaking, yeah.
Yeah, aside from the effects work, it was like, because David Harbour took like half of what Ron Perlman made for the first one, for example. So it's like, shit.
Yeah.
And he had an even more extensive makeup process. But it can be done, and Eddie Redmayne seems to have acknowledged it after the fact, but in an honest way of like, yeah, it didn't cross my mind at the time that getting the story told was more important to me, and I wanted to do it with as much care as I could. But you're right, I should have turned it down, and campaigned for trans actors to get the role. So for him to come out and say this shows that he meant it last time. For him to go against JK, it means he meant it last time. He's like, yeah, no, I need to stand up for trans individuals here. But also is going to prove to be a difficult working relationship going forward, because she seems to be a very pithy person. So this is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. It's also had people reevaluating the Harry Potter series too. Yeah. Reevaluating certain aspects of it and how it has always kind of been regressive in terms of representation. Like, we all know the stuff of JK adding things after the fact. Some kind of interesting, some outright ridiculous, but a lot of it is like, oh, so Dumbledore was gay. Cool. All right. I mean, you didn't mention it in the books, but I suppose it also wouldn't necessarily have to come up around the characters he interacts with in the books. So sure. Oh, you're telling more stuff with him in? Great. Well, can we see a hint of it so that we know that he is genuinely gay representation in these films? Sure, yeah. He and Grindelwald were lovers. Fantastic Beasts 2 comes out. They were closer than brothers.
Yeah.
And they won't harm each other because they've given each other a pendant or whatever that means they can't do it. Instead of, just they can't hurt each other because they deeply care about each other because they were in love. Like, that would have sufficed. But no, they have to remove the gay for the Chinese markets, and it's so it's the Dumbledore thing means jack shit ultimately. Like, it feels like pandering now. It feels like she's pandering and not actually servicing the demographic. And adding diversity in. People, of course, now are dissecting the pre-existing work. Stuff that has been talked about for years, just not highlighted as much as it could have been. So the physical description of the goblins, leaning into incredibly anti-Semitic depictions of Jewish Americans in particular.
Yeah.
And the love of money and that trope. The naming of the only Chinese character in the story as Cho Chang, which are two Korean surnames I found out this week.
Mm-hmm.
So not even Chinese names. But on top of that, like, as a kid, I remember reading that she first appears in Goblet of Fire, and I remember reading that
first appears in Prisoner of Azkaban in the books.
Maybe, yeah, she might have done.
But she first appears in the films in Goblet.
Yeah. I got into them around the time. Well, it could be Azkaban, because I got into them around the time of Goblet of Fire coming out, the book coming out. That was when I was like, oh, I better read these, and I picked up 1 and 2, and then I was bought 3, and I ploughed through them, and then like a few months after Goblet came out was when I got it and read it. But like, she's there's the trope of the exotic woman who is literally a throwaway object to the white savior character. And when you look at Cho Chang's very minimal story arc in the books, that's what she is. And Harry grows fed up with her because she's still mourning the death of Cedric, who was her boyfriend. And Harry's oh God, she keeps going on. And of course it's about like teenage selfishness and oversight, but it is odd that that story arc happens around the exotic girl who Harry fancies for a bit until he gets tired of her. Like, it's just a bit upsetting that that's the only sort of girlfriend character he has in the series prior to it closing up and everything. And then, just things like that. But the worst one for me that I didn't even realise was the house elves. Now,
it's chattel slavery.
It's chattel slavery, but there's also... This is the bit that got me, and it's been years since I've read the book, so I kind of forgotten about this. But there's a whole subplot in the 4th book where, and I'm sure I'm getting the acronym wrong, but Hermione starts an organisation called Spew. And, it's obviously all the characters mock it for being called Spew, but it's like the Society for the Prevention of the... the Society for the Preservation of Elf Welfare, I think is what it stands for.
It's something like that, yeah.
The idea being is, in the books, we learn that Dobby from book 2 is working in Hogwarts in book 4. We learn that he's working like behind the scenes because all the food in the school that magically appears, that magical buffet that appears out of nowhere and all this, is prepared by house elves in kitchens.
Yep.
And then is apparated to the tables. So you're like, all right, so the staff are house elves, but it's already been established that house elves are a very old school tradition in the wizarding world and are slaves.
They're slaves.
Yeah. I can't remember if the ones working at Hogwarts are enslaved to Hogwarts or not, but they are being overworked and in shit conditions. And Dobby chooses to be there of his own accord because he wants to be close to Harry. And he's the only house elf who's wearing clothes, which is the whole like symbol of their freedom. And the more I describe this, the more it becomes weird when you really think about it. And throughout the book, Hermione is mocked by every character for her. Oh, this is so stupid. Like, they don't need to be free. They're fine. Even mocked by Harry. And
look at them. They're happy.
Yeah.
It's so fucked
Yeah.
up. It's so fucked up.
Because it doesn't end with people realizing, yeah, no, this is wrong, and a big liberation in the way that it should do if it was to be teaching us a story, teaching us a moral. It's weird, man.
Harry
is
Potter
so
is like
freaking
textbook
weird.
centrism.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's fighting. They're fighting a fascist regime, but
Yeah.
They're not looking to reform the broken system that allowed the fascist regime to come forward. They just want to go back to centrism and continue with chattel slavery, fucking house elves, and continue to be isolationist and weird. And Harry ends up being a fucking cop. Like, that is Harry's endgame. He wants to be an aura. He wants to be part of the police.
He becomes the
Harry's
wizard
a
police.
cop.
This is where it leads.
Come on. So I guess the sort of milquetoast centrism that the book's dealing, it doesn't really surprise me that J.K. Rowling isn't as leftist as she likes to think she is. But yeah,
It's all right.
that.
She and Graham Linehan can write a sitcom together. It'd be fine. There you go.
Oh,
nobody make it, but let them write in a room together. You know.
Yeah, they could write it and just take it off and say, "Yeah, we'll have this on TV," and then just burn the scripts.
Put it on the fridge, and then when they leave the room, press a button so that the fridge door turns around to reveal it's a furnace inside and just burns it.
Oh, this is beautiful. I'll just put this right here so I can see it every time I go to get a soda.
Oh my god.
Get in the fucking
I'm going to
seat.
America next year to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. It was meant to be this year, but, you know.
Yeah.
Plague. And Lucy and I've already talked about it. We're going to ride those rides. We're going to explore Hogsmeade. We're going to ride the Gringotts ride. Do you know what we're not going to do? Buy a fucking thing from the Harry Potter section.
What you should do is you should take many pictures of yourselves there, both wearing pro-trans t-shirts.
Trans rights t-shirts.
Trans rights t-shirts, or trans women are women, trans men are men t-shirts.
I'm going to get a t-shirt that says Harry Potter says trans rights.
Yeah.
Because he did.
Yep, he did.
He fucking did. So,
trans rights.
Yeah. There we go. There we go.
What else have we got? What else have we got on the docket?
Rick and Morty.
Season 4 of Rick and Morty ended. What do you think of this set of episodes, Christopher?
Spoiler alert for Rick and Morty season 3 and 4.
Yeah.
I like the second half of the season. I thought it was really fun. I do kind of wish we got the whole series in one go, really. I mean, over the course of 10 weeks, I mean, but just because it feels one a week felt weird, and the fact that it ended up one a week feels fine, but the fact that it ended after 5 weeks, it was like, oh.
Yeah. I
now
think
going forward, if they go with
a month, I think is a good plan.
Yeah, that's the thing they're talking about, isn't it? Like just doing one a month from now. That I'm fine with. I think that could work quite well. But I just need to be ready for it. You know what I mean? Like, and in this instance, it felt quite short because it was like season 4, part 2. Oh right, okay. That being said, I like the fact this series mocked the fans for having expectations of recurring or returning story arcs, and then in the last episode goes, "Oh fuck, it is one of them," but at the same time doesn't answer the question. Because the answer to the question wasn't important. It's how it made the characters feel about their choices.
Yeah,
that was what was more important.
They're really doubling down on making sure that you know Rick is a piece of shit.
And the fact that he now kind of is coming to terms with that.
Coming to terms with the idea that he is a piece of shit. And
is upset by it.
Yeah,
as well. Like he's
something that
he's very regretful now.
A long time.
They've been toying with it, but this series in particular, they really have.
I think
been laying into the idea that he fears death, although he's quiet about it. No, he fears death. He fears death without wrapping up things the way he wants it to be. That's what he's afraid of. He loves his grandkids, and is starting to admit it to them now.
Yeah.
Probably because he's like, I've missed all the chances to say it. I should maybe start saying something. But also his relationship with Beth is at a point now where you're like, he definitely knows he's been a shit father and he now feels responsible and guilt.
Yeah.
He feels guilt for it.
Yeah, definitely. And
which is fascinating because this for those who not following but they don't mind the spoilers, start of series 3, the storyline gets wrapped up X, Y, and Z, and Beth, his daughter, the mum of Morty, turns around and goes, like, I don't know if I want to get back with Jerry. I don't know if I want to do X, Y, Z. Like, I don't, this life is no. And he's like, right, well, does he offer to clone her? Yeah, he says, like, go away, like, go into the stars, do whatever.
I'll make you a clone.
And she's
and
like,
stay here.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. He's like, I'll make you a clone, and the clone can stay here and be you. And what happens is Beth stays at home. But they left that conversation there. So it's always like, is this... They do that lovely thing of, is this a clone? Or did Beth make the choice to stay home? Well, now we know. A clone was made.
But we don't know which one stayed.
Exactly. So she agreed to it, and at least one of them made the choice to leave.
They don't know which one stayed. He doesn't know which one stayed.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
Yeah. Like,
which
has
makes
a machine, has a machine that specifically just does the ball under the cup trick. Yeah.
And I just think that's such a brilliant kicker to end the series on. I've been like, yeah, this guy's a shit. And I think the show's been doing a really good job of pushing back against the sort of hero worship of Rick that's erupted amongst the more toxic parts of the fandom. While also still being a fun sci-fi show with a very dark sense of humour and just cool shit all over the place.
Like Morty's taken a back seat in terms of actual character arcs this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel he's hit a point of being a lot more confident. He's not the jeez from series 1 anymore.
Yeah.
But he's not had the series 3 thing of getting angry at shit in his life and taking it out during the stories anymore.
Yeah, he's getting better.
Yeah, he's the sidekick adventurer. That's who he is now, and he's happy being that. Him and Summer bonding is a lot of fun, and the fact that they are giving themselves story arcs because the show has not given them story arcs.
It's just the whole fucking...
There's no natural arc, so they create their own.
Like, this is our story arc, we work together now. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I don't think I'm ever going to quite get over the emotional gut punch of the Vat of Acid episode. That is honestly, I came away from that episode just like empty.
Yeah,
it just fucking gutted me. I was like, this is so good. What this show is doing is so fucking great. I think this has been a really strong season. I think the show goes from strength to strength, and I think it goes from strength to strength by not pandering to what the more toxic and vocal parts of its fandom want.
Yeah. I think it sort of it was God tier Rick and Morty with series 2, start of series 3, and then it looked at what being a god has done.
Yeah.
And went, we don't need to be that. We don't need to be a 10 out of 10 because 10 out of 10 is resulting in some horrible shit.
Yeah.
Off the back of our show. We just need to be a solid fucking 8 out of 10. That's all we need to be. That's what we need to be. Like, come down from that lofty, egotistical height. Don't give people an excuse to think that we need to be worshipped. Just be good sci-fi comedy.
Yeah.
And that can get pretty dark and nihilistic in places.
But also use that
the nihilistic
to develop your characters, yeah.
Yeah, the nihilistic character is now aware that his life is horrible and he is a bad person and he's starting to regret it.
I could almost guarantee that when it comes back, they will be like, Rick's moved on, that never even happened, and then it'll get into it almost straight away, being like, oh, but it's a front, because that's the character, that's what the character does.
And absolute end game is Rick sacrificing himself to save the family he loves. Like, that's absolute end game for the show eventually. That's where it will end. It will end on them going, he does the right thing, not necessarily in the most heroic way, and it's acknowledged that he died a hero, but he lived as a piece of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this was a terrible person who made the right call when it mattered. That's what they'll do, like, to end it.
Yeah.
I guarantee that's the direction they'll go.
And,
I liked the story arc.
Frankly.
I like the story arc stuff. Phoenix person.
Yeah.
Like, we find out what was done to Bird Person's corpse after the end of series 2.
Yeah.
We'd seen glimpses of it.
I think we'd seen
episodes.
him being named Phoenix Person, and everyone saying it was a terrible name.
Yeah, that was. I think that was the first story of this season, wasn't it?
No, I think it was last one.
First one of season 3, but then we didn't see them again. What was it? What's her name? Is it Tammy?
Tammy, yeah.
Yes, we don't see them again. Then we saw them briefly in one of the first episodes of this series.
They were teased in the train
cutaway.
episode.
No. The first half of the series. They appeared in the first half of the series somewhere really briefly because it was like, oh, is this going to be the arc? And then it wasn't. It went away.
Oh, okay.
And then reappeared in episode 10 of the series and was like, oh, now here it is. But yeah, they were. She in particular was teased in the train one alongside Evil. But so that now what's kind of nice is retroactively that scene where they went, oh, you care about this shit? Yeah, fuck it, it's not going to happen. Now it actually plays out as, okay, we will get round to each of these things, but on our time, like on our terms. You know, this is not going to be, oh, what's the finale? It's the finale's what it is.
Yeah.
It's whatever we choose it to be. This year we decided to tie in a story arc. But it wasn't about which Beth's the real Beth. That was what it was on the surface.
That question's never answered.
Because I love the Beth's conundrum as well. The fact that they're like, you had it in you to just like go back to the life you hated. Yeah, but you had it in you to abandon your family. I guess we both have both opportunities in us.
Yeah.
And we both would take either, and that's what's wrong with us. We can't criticize ourselves because we are both going to make the choice that either makes us unhappy or makes us a terrible person. We're both capable of it. Let's just live with that.
Runs in the family, I guess.
Yeah. And also Jerry's invisible puppeteering of Tammy's corpse was fucking great.
Fucking inspired.
That was so good. And then Chris Parnell's performance in the after credits.
Oh, the Jerry spin-off is amazing.
Jerry in an invisible garbage truck, just fighting evil pimps, basically.
Good. So good. Well, until he runs out of gas.
And can't find the freaking hole, so just gives up and leaves it at the gas station.
It was good while it lasted. I love it.
Roll on season 5 whenever they want to make it and however they want to distribute it.
Speaking of other things that I love, let's do some emails.
But you told me that you hate emails.
Yeah, well,
you told me that emails is your least favourite part of the week.
I only hate emails that I get from you, which is why you never email me anymore.
That's true.
We had a couple that came in last week that
I write messages to you on my inner thigh in biro.
Oh, don't do that, please, ever. We had a couple come in tail end of last week that we didn't get to, so we're going to do those now. And the first one comes in from Alistair.
Hello, Alistair.
Alistair says, "Hello, is this thing on? Greetings. I hope you're all doing well in the craze world that is 2020. I spent far too much time on Twitter recently, and it's really put a spotlight on both the best and worst of humanity. Ain't that the truth? Be it police officers that have no sense of the value of human life, or a president that has all but declared war upon the citizens that he's supposed to represent. Do you two fine gents have any recommendations of films or literature by black creators that should be getting more support than they are? Look forward to hearing from you both. Happy Pride Month, Black Lives Matter. Goodbye, my dears. Raging gay, Alistair. P.S. Can you tell us the tale of the legend that is Tom Monty?" We'll address the last thing first.
Yeah, how to explain Tom Monty?
Tom Monty is a regular emailer, and we did a silly voice. I did a silly voice for one of his emails, and then it just became a thing. And he hasn't written in for a while, and that's the saga of Tom Monty. That's the saga.
Tom, if you're still out there, send us a cryptic email just to let us know you're still alive.
Let us know you're okay.
We'll read it out in an even creepier voice.
Yeah, we'll do the. It started off as a really shit Vincent Price.
He did, yeah.
Because I want to be able to do Vincent Price's voice, but I can't do it. I've tried for many years, just can't do it.
Maybe Tom Monty can.
Who could say? Well, apparently so. We're going off our thing. I like more films and literature by people of colour that is a blind spot of mine that I'm working on. So I don't have any overt recommendations. There are a pair of journalists that I follow on Twitter that do very good work, particularly in the game sphere, but also branching out into other areas of general culture. That's a cute cat. And they both do work for Vice. First one is Austin Walker, who is at Austin_Walker, and the other very good person is Geeta Jackson, who is at XOXO Gossip Geeta, Gita. They will. That's a good gateway to stuff that you can get more involved with. Also, I came across a really good Twitter thread. I know it's not literature or film, but a useful resource. Black fronted bands in the heavy music scene, which was very eye opening to me. Some of them I knew, but there. If you want to get into some more, if you're a metalhead like me and you want some more black artists in your sphere, then you could definitely do worse than check out Seven Dust fronted by LeJean Witherspoon, Bloodbather fronted by Jeffrey Georges, of course there's Living Colour, Justin Bonnet's fronting Tala, Stuck Mojo, For Today, Animals as Leaders, Dance Gavin Dance, who's fronted by Will Swan, who's in a bunch of different bands. Of course, he's not the front man, but Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine, who people have been going on at me on Twitter being like, "Oh, I used to like your music until I found out you were political." I'm like, "It's fucking Rage Against the Machine. Have you ever listened to the lyrics?
Have you ever said the name of the band back to yourself?"
Hyro the Hero, Veil of Maya. What else we got? HO9909. Butcher Babies, Oceans of Slumber, Phil Lynott of Thin Lizzy, Let Us Not Forget. Also let us not forget the great Jimi Hendrix. Melissa Bonney of Ad Infinitum. Stephen Harrison of Fever 333. Crispin Earle of the Veer Union. Stephen Burnett of Death Grips. Oh, a couple of them have gone missing. Where are they? There's Straight Line Stitch, but I can't remember the name of the front woman. They're also pretty good. Also, don't forget Modern Sepultura. They're now fronted by Derek Green and have been for a long while since Max Cavalera left. Alice in Chains. William Duvall eventually replaced the late Lane Staley. So, there are people out there in the heavy scene who you can support. So, more things to consider. What about you?
In terms of just educating yourself, the films of Spike Lee, abso-freaking-lutely, but in particular right now, Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
Watch Do the Right Thing. It is very well made for starters, but it's also like uncomfortable in places when you realise that it was, I don't know, just over 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And just watch it and you'll see.
Also watch Black Klansman.
Black Klansman, yeah.
Black
Do you know what?
Klansman is brilliant.
I've got hold of the screenplay for that, and I need to read it because I'm curious as to what Spike, because he co-wrote it, didn't he, Spike Lee? I'm curious as to what his POV is as a scriptwriter. I need to give that a read.
Malcolm X is a good one as well.
Malcolm X is another goodie. In terms of educating yourself as well, if you have Netflix, if you have not watched it, please watch the documentary 13th.
Yep.
Please watch that.
When They See Us, the series about
When They See Us,
Central Park 5. What fucking else?
If you kind of need a bit of levity right now, but you also want to, support black artists and learn a bit more about it, but also see black artists kind of taking back a lot of piss takey stuff via piss takes. Stuff that's gone against their culture. The whole thing is on YouTube in increments, but I'm sure you can find full episodes properly somewhere. Watch Comedy Central's Key and Peele, because Michael Key, wonderful. Jordan Peele, fucking wonderful. If you haven't already watched Get Out and Us, do that. But also, these two as a sketch show, like the show is unashamedly a black show. Like do you know what I mean? Its point of view is, this is made by two black men, and it's about us and our sense of humor. It's not exclusionary; it's incredibly inclusive. But you're going to be surprised, by the amount of reclaimed racial slurs used in it. But it's fucking wonderful, and again, it's about supporting a black artist right now, but also giving your mind a bit of a break if what you want just for a bit right now is something to make you laugh, but still not stop supporting and everything. Go and give it a watch, because it is a wonderful, wonderful recent example of black artists getting to be the sole pilots of the thing they're working on.
Also, if you haven't, then check out Sorry to Bother You. It's 2018. Sort of comedy, slightly absurdist comedy, but also drama. Written and directed by Boots Riley. Got Lakeith Stanfield in it. Tessa Thompson.
Yeah.
Very, very, very good. And another black-fronted heavy band, which everyone should give a listen to, is, of course, the magnificent Body Count, fronted by Ice-T.
Yeah.
Especially their 2017 album, which was called, I want to say Bloodlust. I'm just going to check. Spotify.
This is our hold music.
Don't start playing Spotify, whatever you do. Please don't.
So hang on, I'll drown out any potential leakage.
It's okay. Yeah, Bloodlust, which is their 2017 album, is a particularly sharp cut of again increasingly relevant. It's stuff that we're talking about, stuff from 3-4 years ago and from even longer in some places. But this stuff is just, the fact that this stuff is becoming more and more relevant is a testament to how fucking broken this system is. So yeah, that's some things to check out, Alistair. Next one comes in from superfan Simon, who
Hey Simon
says, "Carriers, you mean to go on?" Says, "Hey, my fellow streamers, podcasters, and geniuses, how you doing, good sirs? First off, once again, mind thanking both for your continued efforts regarding podcasts and Twitch streams during this escalating, mad, and turbulent time. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Matt with your Doom adventures in backlogging, and Chris with, at the time of typing, Uncharted 4, and our ever-loving and supportive Squad. There for you and each other during the amount of time you're streaming. Spread love, laughs, and support, so people who are on Twitch and want to join a friendly supportive stream, as always, you know the drill, people who are listening." But Simon's just reinforcing it for you. Head to twitch.tv/BigDamnStream or twitch.tv/officialCDJ. Now, onto my main subject. What are your views on Carrie, 1976, 2002, and 2013, and the musical? And if you had to remake it, who would you cast, and would it work as a Netflix TV series so you could accommodate more scenes from the book into a TV series? I've recently become a fan of the original version and going to buy the book and Blu-ray soon. Sorry it's a random and short email, but continue to be the supportive, creative, amazing, and entertaining big damn boys we know and love. Shout out and love to the Ob Squad, Lucy Kiki, PS Twitch fans. Yeah, we know what our streaming schedule is, Simon. You don't have to tell us.
but thank you for reinforcing it. It means our subliminal marketing is working.
Yes.
Strokes mustache. Strokes quarantine mustache. My answer for Carrie is pretty short. I'm only familiar with the original movie.
I'm only familiar with the original movie and the novel. I'm not familiar with the 2002 TV.
Well, I'm only familiar with the original movie, the novel, and the tattoo I have on my back.
Oh, nice. I'm not familiar with the 2002 TV movie version. Which was a backdoor pilot for a series, believe it or not.
But does it adapt the novel?
Yes.
So where do you go from there?
I don't know. I have not seen it, nor any of the stuff that came out off the back of it. Nor have I seen Carrie 2: The Rage.
Is Spacek in that one?
No, I believe that was a different script that was retooled into a Carrie sequel.
Like American Psycho 2.
Yes.
Oh, so weird when that happens.
But again, I have not seen it. I could not say. 2013. That's the
Chloe Grace Moretz one.
Yeah.
Now Chloe Moretz.
That's the Chloe Moretz one. I have not seen. I heard it was fine. The musical is notoriously terrible.
Is it one of the bad ones?
Yeah.
Is it one of the baddies?
It's one of the biggest flops in like American music theatre history.
Damn.
Well, until Turn Off the Dark came along. Which was just a mess. If I was to adapt it, I don't think if I had to remake it, I don't know who I'd cast because it is quite charged with like sexual awakening in a high school age girl, and I think that's stuff you've got to be really careful how you tackle, and with your actors, you've got to be really careful how you.
I mean, if you're adapting it, you could always age it up and it'd be more about a late bloomer.
Yeah.
Like you could always age it to the very end of senior year, for example, if you wanted to keep it high school.
I mean, if you are, I don't know much about menstruation, but you
know more than J.K. Rowling, apparently.
But I don't know if there'd be I don't know if there are many girls who are still waiting on their first period at 18.
True, yeah, and it ties into that direct.
I mean, I guess I don't know much about menstruation. I could be wrong.
You could tie it into. I mean, if you are gonna keep it at the younger age, I think in terms of who you cast, I think you just cast an unknown and you make sure that the project is something that everybody in it is completely involved and is aware of what they're making from the top, like what message, what story they're telling, and how scary it's going to be.
Yeah.
And you create a star-making role.
I don't even think you necessarily have to have it as the menstruation thing. I think it could be you could retool it to be about coming out against the fundamentalist Christian upbringing.
For those who don't know, what's the basic? What's like the one sentence summary of Carrie?
Of Carrie is it's about a girl who is she's quite shy and reserved, but she's raised in she's like a bit of an outsider at school because she's raised by a single mother who is very like fire and brimstone fundamentalist Christian and also quite abusive. And she has a first period in the locker room in high school, and she doesn't know what's going on. So the other girls take the piss out of her, and she sort of, in addition to like sort of her coming of age, she also unlocks sort of these latent telekinetic powers, and her classmates, some of her nastier classmates, like plan to play a trick on her at prom. Sort of like a bullying thing, and it all sort of comes to a head, and she unleashes her full telekinetic fury at a high school prom gone wrong, which gets very nasty for everyone. The 1976 movie directed by Brian De Palma starring Sissy Spacek is very good. As I say, I can't speak to the other two adaptions, but it was also the first novel that Stephen King got published, so it was very much a career maker for him as well.
Are there any implications in the original novella of other people going through what she went through, specifically in relation to telekinesis.
It's been a long time since I've read the book, so...
Because maybe that's how you adapt it. You tell
Yeah.
a story of the town 30 years later, where that night has become a bit of an urban legend, and you have like a young man or a young girl who's kind of feeling outside of everything themselves and are seeing parallels with this neighborhood folklore about this girl. And you know what I mean? So you kind of sequelize it in a way instead.
Maybe that might be a way to go. But yeah, I think it would do a bit of updating, and as I say, maybe make it more about sexuality in a more modern way in terms of, you know, sexual preferences and gender identity, more than just this poor girl doesn't know what a period is.
Yeah.
And that will help and sort of play on that tension between the like coming to terms with who you are, and also pushing against the sort of very fundamentalist white Christian bullshit,
which still exists throughout a lot of America.
Yeah, which is very what's the word I'm looking for?
Seeded?
Not
rooted.
Seeded. It's very, I don't want to use the word fundamentalist again, but it's very hardline about sexuality, gender identity, etc., etc.
Or at least it's closed off. It's closed off to learning, as well.
So
like
I
it
think
seems to be very kind of.
the
law doesn't like gays. It's like how do you
almost
not
sort of
sure?
revels in ignorance. So I think if you're going to do a modern version of it, that's the kind of tension you need to ratchet in on.
You tackle modern religious ignorance.
Yes.
Via depictions of struggling with one's sexuality.
Yeah.
But still have a bucket of blood.
Yes. Also have a bucket of blood. This next one comes in from our new Doctor Who correspondent, Sam. Says, it's another wonderfully sort of stream of consciousness emails. These things are a joy, man, because they're just so unfiltered. Says, hello, my beautiful people. This week I'm going to take you back to 1995 and some other years. Let's go back to 1964 with Marco Polo. Marco Polo is the first of a lot of stories that are missing 7 episodes, but none of the episodes are alive. That's a great phrase. I love your choice of words there, Sam. Telesnaps for episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. No telesnaps for episode 6, because Waris Hussein had some time off. Waris had telesnaps, but the man who did episode 6 did not make telesnaps. The Crusade. 2 episodes of this is missing. 2 and 4. The 4 copies of the episodes were destroyed. Telesnaps, I believe, for 2 and 4. The target book is Doctor Who and the Crusaders. Now let's do something not so sad. Doctor Who yearbook from 1995. So did you watch did you read what brought that on? Good information, but
where do you get off?
Did they ever animate the missing episodes of the Crusaders?
I don't believe so. Not to my knowledge.
I think I've got a rip of the loose cannon recons from knocking around somewhere.
Oh, you love a good loose cannon recon.
No, I fucking don't.
I've always said that about you. Sitting in your caravan, your modern caravan, pretending it's a...
They did some, some work to try and fill those gaps, bless them, but it just doesn't hold up.
They did something, all right.
Something not so sad. The Doctor Who yearbook from 1995. This is so good. Lots of information about episodes and cast. As you can see here, I used to have this yearbook, and I can confirm indeed that it was fucking great. Are you playing with Tracer?
Yeah, she fell over on my desk, so I was giving her a new spare hand and propping her up.
Stop touching the book. And
I'm not. Believe it, I'm not her type anyway.
Yeah, so. True. It's cool ass character design though.
It is. She's my second main.
It's the colours on the leggings, man, and on the brown, and then the brown, like the leather top. It's just a good look. Anyway, Caesar. Sam sent us a scan of one of the pages, and I remember this yearbook / annual, because it's like the British sort of annuals that you get in all the shops where they come out in time for Christmas. That
Yeah, although nowadays they come out in like September.
Yeah.
And then they're on sale by the 1st of January.
But this one, it went through the show season by season, and it broke down the episodes, all the production and transmission dates, the writers, directors, producers, studios, locations, the ratings for all the stories, working titles, lists of unused stories. It's really cool.
Christ alive, that's chocker.
Yeah, and it's and you can tell it was early on in the fandom because it uses 100,000 BC instead of An Unearthly Child. For the umbrella title for that story, and it also has like the Daleks, aka the mutants, because it didn't have an umbrella story title.
So what was the mutants always called? Was that always just called the mutants then?
Yes, because by then they had umbrella story titles, didn't they? Although there is one episode of the Daleks serial called The Mutants, isn't there?
I think so, yeah.
And then the working titles for the episodes like The Tribe of Gum, The Survivors, Beyond the Sun for the Daleks, and A Journey to Cathay for Marco Polo. Yeah. Interesting how it peaked at 10.2 million viewers for Inside the Spaceship, which we now know as Edge of Destruction.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's because everyone had heard about the Daleks. They'd all steadily tuned in, and then the most people just tuned in the week where there weren't any Daleks and went, "The hell's this? Yeah. Why's a little girl running around with scissors? What's happening?"
Sam says, "This is good. This is so good. Lots of information about episodes and cast, as you can see here." And he's got the picture. Working titles, for example, Doctor Who, Under the Sea, The Fish People. Can you guess what episode? Go on, I can wait.
Underwater Menace?
Definitely Underwater Menace, yeah. And on the picture that he's sent of the season 1 page, it's got like unused stories were The Giants by C.E. Weber, The Living World by Alan Wakeman, The Robots, aka Masters of Luxor by Anthony Coburn, Britain 408 AD by Malcolm Hulke, The Hidden Planet by Malcolm Hulke, A Minuscule Story with an Unknown Title by Robert Gould, The Red Fort by Terry Nation, Title Unknown Story by Margot Bennett, Post-Spanish Armada Story with an Unknown Title by David Whittaker.
David Whittaker.
I bet they're all Big Finish audios now. Anyway, Sam goes on to say, "Great if you pick the Underwater Menace, you are right. Production dates, for example, Spearhead from Space, 13th of September 69 to 22nd of November 69. Nice. Unused stories like The Labyrinth by John Pertwee and Reed de Ruin. Locations, Plymouth in Devon. I like Exeter more, maybe because it's my city, or to HHH or Colony in Space because baby legs. If you would like this, get your own." So I don't know what you're saying.
I don't think Sam types these. I think Sam just says, "Okay, Google, dictate." And then just...
I love your enthusiasm, but I have no idea what you're trying to say.
Oh, God.
And yes, if you do like that 1995 yearbook, do indeed get your own. It's worth picking up. If you're into like old retro Doctor Who stuff, because it is a neat little thing. I loved it when I was a kid.
See, I think the oldest collected volume I've got is 1 second. It's the Key to Time by Peter Haining, and it's a book released around the time of Colin Baker. It's just like a collective thing about the show. It's the oldest Doctor Who book I've got in terms of.
I'm sure it will not surprise you to learn that my dad has a bunch of Doctor Who annuals.
Of course he does. I mean, is that what he's been allowed to keep?
Well, he's still got some of his Tom Baker and Peter Davison ones from when he was young.
A nipper.
When he was
I've got like Tom's last one and Peter's 3, I think, in this room as well.
But there's the one with like the pink and purple lines on the cover and the shot of him in the console room. He's got that one.
Oh, nice.
Pretty. And yeah, of course, we had the 1995 yearbook. I think that one also had a couple of strips in. I think it had, if I remember correctly, that had comics from the Doctor Who magazine team, which were sequels to Junkyard Demon and Star Beast, and one of them was a Great Vampire Story. That was like a prequel to Goth Opera, the Missing Adventures
Yeah.
novel, if I remember correctly. That one had a bunch of cool strips in. Junkyard Demon was great. But yeah, that's it for this week. We've gone on for nearly 2 hours about bullshit. And
Utter bullshit.
Next week, we turn 4.
Yes! So we're going to be doing what any self-respecting 4-year-old does.
Gonna get drunk and talk bullshit.
Yeah, we're going to get near-death levels of drunk, ladies and gentlemen.
So,
what do we mean?
Please look forward to that.
Spoiler warning.
Jesus.
If you want to,
folks.
Yeah, if you want to celebrate 4 years with us, maybe let us know what your favourite Big Damn moment has been, your favourite episode of Big Damn Love, which podcast been your favourite, which guest you'd like to see come back, like whatever it be, let us know. BigDamnContact@gmail.com is the email. We'll try and read them out next week. Also, emphasis on try. Also, if you want to get in touch with us any other time, on Twitter @BigDamnCast. You can see us on YouTube at the Big Damn channel. And you can watch regular live streams of Adventures in Backlogging a Big Damn Play from Matthew and myself on twitch.tv/BigDamnStream. And most importantly, if you can spare a couple shekels for some bonus material, like access to the Discord server, support us on patreon.com/BigDamnCast. Ooh, mince.
Ooh, baby, I love you well.
I can smell your mince today. Oh, God.
Right.
I was just ignoring before you.
See you next time.